Welcome back to Jersey Matters. I'm Larry Menti. We have a very important election coming up across the country and in New Jersey. So let's talk about voting rights, voter suppression, and voter ID with a man that knows all about it, Bergen County Clerk John Hogan. Thank you so much for coming in.
Larry, thank you for having me on the show.
I appreciate you coming in. Your office recently gave out or is offering identification cards. Are they necessary in voting in the state?
Well, actually, that comes from the Superintendent of Elections office. It's a card that shows that you've gotten registered to vote, and it's just something to have to show that your actual paperwork was processed and you're a registered voter.
So it's good that they have that, but
yes,
it makes it so that more people are able to have an ID, and I get why that's important, because IDs are needed for so many things in life. I just rented a bike and I needed to show an ID. Why not in voting?
Well, because we have certain ways. There's 3 agencies that handle elections in each county. There's Superintendent of Election, there's Board of Elections, and then there's my division of elections in Bergen County also. There's checks and balances that go on. There's a lot of background checking. When you get registered to vote, you have to either give the last 4 of your social security number or your driver's license number. So there's a lot of things that happen behind the scenes to make sure that the voter is the real voter.
Is there voter fraud?
Bergen County, we haven't seen big amounts of voter fraud. The only possibility where it could occur is by voting by mail, but we've put safeguards in. We've examined everything. The Superintendent of Elections has investigative powers. She's followed through with everything. We haven't seen any of that happen in Bergen County. We've been very successful. When I first became clerk, it was a week after I was elected, I became the clerk, and then the following year, Fox National TV came in, and they wanted to talk about voting fraud because they were convinced that by vote by mail there was voting fraud. We showed them our whole processes. The whole story changed.
Oh, they still did the story, though.
They still did.
But it was
the
more
story.
of a positive story.
It was positive. I think they found voting fraud in New York, but not in Bergen County.
But isn't showing an ID when you go to vote a way of making certain that, I don't get how that suppresses votes.
I can give you an example of something that occurred when I was a commissioner on the Board of Elections, okay? It was Cliffside Park. One of the challengers was asking every voter who came in, young, old, handicap, every voter that came in for photo ID. He wanted driver's license, et cetera. Some of the people who were coming in were in their 90s and they had to leave. They never came back. They never came back with identification. We were called in as election commissioners. Our lawyers came in and we said, as long as the signatures match in the books, anyone can challenge the signatures in the books, and there'll be a full investigation. As long as those signatures match, it's fine. And I'm telling you, we have not had any severe cases of voting fraud in Bergen County. The real challenge is to get people to get out and vote. We get people registered, and then they don't bother to vote.
So where is the battle? Why is there a battle over this? It comes up every single election. There's one side that wants voter ID. There's another side said, no, you're trying to suppress votes. First of all, I don't understand why you wouldn't have voter ID. It seems like because I have IDs. I guess that's the reason I don't see it. But then I don't understand how it suppresses votes. Maybe I'm just not enlightened.
Well, part of the problem is that since 9/11, the federal government with the Real ID Act has said that you have to have either a passport or a driver's license. We, from our office, we went to Senator Weinberg. We have legislation that just passed the state Senate. It's in the Assembly now. We're hoping by the fall it'll be accepted, that if anyone comes into my office, they're going to be able to get, and any county clerk who participates, they're going to be able to get a non-driver's ID. Instead of us telling them, no, we can't issue it, you have to go to motor vehicles, they got to stand on line, we're going to be able to take the information, send it to motor vehicles, they issue the ID. So there's not many selections that you can use as true ID these days.
No, that's a great thing. Forget voting. It's still a good thing because you need ID, as we've pointed out, for many things. I've been dealing with one side of the argument. Let me deal with the other now. Yeah. Is there true voter suppression?
I think there are attempts at voter suppression, but my office, I'm in my 7th year of a 5-year term. How did I do that? I got reelected.
Congratulations.
Thank you. But we go out and we try to educate the voters so that there's no fear in elections. We actually put a booklet together that we hand to, I do a lot of weddings. I do over 700 weddings a year. Every bride and groom gets this booklet. No fear in elections. There's no mystery in elections. Once you get registered to vote, it takes you about 3 minutes to get registered to vote. It's not all that hard to be eligible either to vote. You can participate in every election. The unwritten rule is if you don't vote in 2 presidential elections, the superintendent of elections is going to take a look at what's going on here. Has that person moved out? Have they moved on? Whatever.
If you were in charge of all elections, could we vote online?
I think Governor Murphy is moving toward that, but I'm not so sure that we have the safeguards in place. I can tell you, during Hurricane Sandy, that was my real first test as clerk. Lights were out, we were on generator power and everything. Some of the rules were relaxed, that people could vote by mail, because we had college students that could no longer get back to their towns, to the communities where they lived, so they could vote by mail instead. The rules were relaxed by the lieutenant governor, that we could fax those applications back and forth, and some good things came out of the voting process in Hurricane Sandy. There was no voter fraud in Hurricane Sandy, even though the rules and the regulations were relaxed.
It seems like we were heading towards that for a while. Everybody was saying it's just the logical next step, we should do it. But then came these stories of Russian meddling and them getting involved through the computers. I'd think that hurts the argument until we deal with that.
But then that's why I go out, I speak to schools, I speak to senior groups, civic groups, and I tell them there's no hacking of elections in Bergen County. We are not web-based. We have cartridges that come out of the machines that come into my office on election night under guard with police from all 70 towns. They go into cartridge readers, and that's how the results are populated. This is backed up with a paper printout to show the amount of votes that were cast and the bottom line votes for everyone. We have the books. If it's not web-based, they can't hack it.
And it's not just Bergen County. There's been no proof that they were able to get into any voting machine anywhere across the country, although they did attempt to.
Yes.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
I appreciate you being in. Oh, thanks for coming in.
Nice
Bergen County Clerk John Hogan. Jersey Matters continues right after this. When we come back, we'll tell you about an oasis by the sea for women suffering with cancer. That's when Jersey Matters continues.